Power's been out for 3 days. The store's closed on day 1. Your neighbor's car is gone, you don't know where. After dark, you've been hearing things you can't place. Footsteps, maybe, maybe not. The question isn't whether your neighborhood is still safe. You already know the answer to that. The question is what you actually have between your family and whatever is outside that door right now. Long-term preppers who've run households through real outages, not weekend drills, actual multi-day failures already answered this question. 20 items. Here they all are. I've been prepping for 19 years. I've run my household through 3 extended grid failures, 1 weather event, 1 regional infrastructure collapse, 1 localized civil disorder. I've watched every piece of gear on this list either work exactly the way it was rated or fail at the worst possible moment. Most of what I'm about to tell you came from the failures, not the wins. Every item here has been stress tested in conditions it was built for. I'm not guessing at this list. I built it by throwing away everything that didn't hold up. When infrastructure collapses, social order doesn't collapse uniformly. It collapses at the edges first, the blocks farthest from police stations, the neighborhoods without organized community presence, the streets where no one is watching. Post-Katrina after-action reports documented this precisely. Looting didn't spread randomly. It spread along paths of least resistance, into homes that looked unoccupied, unlit, and undefended. The threat isn't random. It's calculated, even when the person calculating it is running on instinct. What you're building here isn't a fortress. It's a series of layered decisions that redirect that calculation toward a softer target somewhere else on the block. Item 1. Door frame reinforcement. Not a better deadbolt, the frame the deadbolt is mounted into. 90% of forced residential entries don't defeat the lock. They defeat the wood frame around the strike plate. 1 kick, 1 splintered jam. Door armor reinforcement systems bolt through the frame directly into the structural studs behind the drywall. I installed mine 11 years ago. I also tested it hard, deliberately, with a partner. The door held. Most households upgrade the hardware and leave the frame original. That distinction is worth 4 seconds in a real breach. 4 seconds is a long time when someone is listening. Item 2. Window security film, 8mm minimum, applied to every ground floor window. Glass doesn't stop entry, but unlaminated glass breaks fast and silently. Security film holds a shattered pane together on impact, converting a 3-second breach into a 30-second obstacle, enough time to hear it, wake up, and move. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, emergency responders documented multiple residential entries through ground floor windows, broken quietly while occupants were in other rooms. I've had film on mine for 7 years. A branch hit one of them in a storm 2 winters ago. The glass cracked all the way through. The film held it in the frame until I replaced the pane 3 days later. Film doesn't prevent breakage. It eliminates silent breakage. Item 3. A battery-powered perimeter alarm system with a local siren and zero dependence on cellular signal or Wi-Fi. Not a Ring doorbell, not a Nest camera. When the grid is down, your internet-dependent security infrastructure is offline. Wise, simply safe operating on full battery backup or purpose-built off-grid contact sensor systems with local sirens all work. I run contact sensors with independent 9-volt battery sirens, no hub, no signal, no subscription. During my second extended outage, the neighbors with smart home security had nothing for 4 days. My sensors kept working. The system that requires a subscription, a signal, and a functioning internet connection to notify you is 3 points of failure stacked on top of each other. Item 4. Exterior motion-activated lighting on battery or solar power, positioned as an early warning and deterrence tool, not for convenience. A light that activates at 2 a.m. When you're watching from inside, tells you exactly where someone is before they've reached the structure. It also tells them they've been seen. Most opportunistic threats are moving toward invisibility, not toward confrontation. Light removes invisibility. Positioning matters more than brightness. Mount low, angled toward approach paths. Don't flood downward from the eaves that leaves the base of the building in shadow, which is exactly where you don't want cover for anyone approaching. Item 5. A floor bracing door barricade bar, distinct from frame reinforcement. A barricade bar braced at an angle from the door handle down to the floor resists horizontal kick force that a reinforced frame doesn't fully absorb. The buddy bar is rated for several thousand pounds of direct force. No batteries, no configuration, no failure modes. You kick the door, the bar transfers force to the floor. The floor doesn't move. This is the item most preparedness content skips entirely because it looks low-tech. That is exactly why I've had one behind my front door for a decade. Item 6. Battery-powered two-way radios. Minimum 5-mile FRS or GMRS range. Cellular towers run on emergency battery backup, typically 4 to 8 hours after grid failure. After that, cell service fails. Communication between family members in separate rooms, a garage, or a designated safe room is not a comfort feature during an active threat scenario. It is a coordination requirement. I learned this during my first outage. 2 adults in the house, no radios, no power. Every time one of us needed to check on something, we had to physically walk to the other person. In daylight, that's fine. At 3 a.m., with a dog barking at something in the yard, it's a problem. Midland and Baofeng handhelds cost less than a single security camera. Item 7. A quick access biometric firearm safe. Not a firearm recommendation that's a separate decision based on training, legal standing, and household composition. The safe. In a grid-down scenario with elevated threat levels and children in the home, an unsecured firearm isn't a protective asset. It's a risk multiplier. A quick access biometric safe opens in under 2 seconds and resolves the access versus security trade-off without compromise. I've had 3 over the years. The first one failed on battery. I hadn't rotated them. That's the lesson. The safe is the item, the maintenance discipline is the rest of it. That is the foundation layer. 7 items, 1 logic, friction and time. Not defeating a threat, redirecting it. The preparedness market sells confrontation gear. A household that holds up under real pressure is built on friction. Someone approaches, sees the light, notes a reinforced entry, and moves on. Most do. The next items exist for the ones who don't. Item 8. Sliding glass door security bars and secondary track pins. The sliding door is the most commonly overlooked entry point in residential architecture. Standard sliding door locks are rated for wind, not forced entry. A steel bar cut to fit the door track prevents forced opening even after the lock is compromised. A secondary pin drilled through the upper frame stops the door from being lifted out of the track entirely. 2 components, under $20 combined. I've been running this setup for 8 years. I test it every spring. I try to force it myself. It doesn't move. Here is where most civilians make the critical mistake. They purchase these items individually, in isolation, without recognizing that the value of each one multiplies when it is layered against the others. A motion light without interior communications means you see a threat and have no way to alert family in the back bedroom without stepping into a hallway. A reinforced frame without a barricade bar addresses one physics problem and leaves another open. Gear doesn't work in isolation. It works in systems. The question I ask about any piece of gear is not whether it works, but what it fails to cover and what fills that gap. Item 9. A dedicated safe room, not a construction project, a room that already exists, designated in advance, with a solid core door, a reinforced frame, and pre-staged supplies. The designation is the item. In an active entry scenario, a family that has never discussed where to go makes 3 separate decisions simultaneously, under stress, in the dark. One conversation, held before the lights go out, eliminates it entirely. That conversation costs nothing. It should have happened already. Item 10. Commercial-grade pepper spray foggers, not personal keychain canisters. The distinction is range and denial area. A personal OC canister is designed for close contact situations. A fogger fills a doorway or hallway with an aerosol that incapacitates at distance, creating a denial zone that buys time to reach a defensive position. Saber and defense technology make law enforcement-grade options available to civilians. The keychain version is for a parking lot. Most people buy the wrong size. Range matters. Volume matters. Item 11. A battery-powered or hand-crank NOAA weather radio. Not for weather, for community-level situational awareness when cellular networks degrade. During the 2021 Texas grid failure, residents without battery-powered radio access had no way to receive emergency management communications once phone batteries died. Curfew information, mutual aid locations, emergency broadcasts, all of it moves through NOAA channels when nothing else is working. I keep two. One hand crank, one solar. The hand crank is the one that's actually been used. Batteries die. Solar panels get buried in snow. The crank works regardless. Item 12. Manual can opener, water filtration, and a 72-hour food supply, staged inside the designated safe room. Not in the kitchen. Inside the room. If an active situation pins your family in one location, the food 10 feet down the hallway does not help you. The Sawyer squeeze handles water from any available source. These three items together address the scenario most households have never thought through. What happens if we cannot leave this room until morning? Item 13. Blackout curtains on every ground floor window. A lit interior in a dark neighborhood communicates occupancy, activity, and presence. Post-Katrina field documentation noted that looted homes frequently showed signs of prior observation. A home that goes completely dark is indistinguishable from a home that is empty. $30 per window. No recurring cost. No failure mode. Now slow down. This part is different. Everything above protects adults who can make decisions, move quickly, and process threat information in real time. What follows is about people who cannot do any of those things, and who are entirely dependent on decisions you made before any of this started. Item 14. A trauma kit, tourniquets, hemostatic gauze, pressure bandages, and a written protocol every adult in the household has read at least once. Not a first aid kit, a trauma kit. During grid collapses, ambulance response times extend significantly. During the Louisville civil unrest in 2020, EMS suspended service to multiple residential zones during peak disorder. A survivable wound treated within 90 seconds is not survivable if no one in the household knows where the tourniquet is stored. That outcome is documented. It is not reversible. You cannot correct it after the fact. Every adult in my household has run through the protocol at least once a year for the last 12 years. It takes 20 minutes. It has never once felt like time wasted. Item 15. A written communication plan stored physically in the safe room. Verbal plans degrade under stress. Written plans do not. A child who knows exactly where to go and what to do is not a second liability in an active scenario. A child without instructions is. Item 16. A 30-day supply of all prescription medications in the household rotated to stay current. This is the item most people miss. Not a firearm, not a generator, medications. Grid failures have a documented history of producing medical emergencies among people whose chronic conditions were previously stable. Insulin, cardiac medications, blood pressure management. These don't become optional because the lights are off. They become harder to replace. The supply buffer is the item. Build it before you need it. Rotate it quarterly. I keep a spreadsheet. Item 17. Cash. Small bills. Physical, in the home. Electronic payment infrastructure fails with the grid. ATMs go offline. Card readers stop working. In the immediate hours and days after an extended outage, physical currency is the only medium of exchange for fuel, food, and essential transactions. I keep mine in 20s and 5s. 10s for making change. During my second outage, a gas station 3 miles from my house was running on a cash-only basis by day 2. The line was around the block. Most people in it didn't have small bills. Items 18, 19, and 20 were never supposed to be on a list like this. They have no marketing, no reviews. These are the ones I'd build first if I were starting over. 18. A laminated neighborhood map with pre-marked evacuation routes. Paper, not a phone app. Paper works at 3 a.m. in a blackout with a dead phone. 19. A mutual key exchange with one trusted neighbor, their spare key in your home, yours and theirs, agreed upon in advance. 20. A written household threat assessment completed before any event entry points ranked by vulnerability, interior cover positions identified, family roles assigned for every scenario you can name. I redo mine every 2 years. 3 forces explain why most households have none of this. The preparedness industry sells gear because gear has a margin. It does not sell conversations, written protocols, or laminated maps. The second force is time. The items that matter most cannot be ordered when the event has already started. A trauma kit that ships in 3 days is not available tonight. The third force is a single assumption, that some other system will still be functioning when yours stops. Police response. Hospital access. Open stores. That assumption is the single point of failure in most household defense plans. Remove it, and nothing on this list looks extreme. It looks like baseline competence. The danger is not that someone is planning to come. The danger is the assumption that something else was already standing between them and your door. Tell me the one you already have. Then tell me the one that would take you longest to get.